This program is proudly brought to you by LateNightMedia.com for all your podcasting, comedy writing, and hot steaming pod needs. LateNightMedia.com.
Conscious wisdom, challenging our skeptical, critical thinking, digging deep into the dark and the light, and exploring the depths of our mind, body, and spirit. The podcast sprinkled with science, creativity, ageless wisdom, philosophy, and conspiracy. So be part of the discussion and get involved. Be part of the action of thinking and being the revolution. Be conscious with wisdom. Conscious wisdom, challenging our skeptical, critical thinking.
This, my background, one of it is marketing, and I explored that, how to get at the front of mind, to get into people's third eye, how to get there in the center of
I've been
their
in
head.
advertising, so I know this all too well through television, which is it's almost like hypnosis.
How do you push the desire button? How do you get them to want it? It's about them, you got to talk to them. They use the words that I remember. We had beautiful word lists, desire, you want, discover. Fine.
You get laid.
You get laid.
It seems like the psychiatry industry did change a lot of words.
Yes.
Like when you got that kid is distracted in class, that turned into ADHD.
Absolutely.
He's distracted.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to listen.
I bet he's bored with the routine.
He's bored with this. He's obviously too smart. Oh no, you're ADHD. You're not smart.
Remember, a lot of this is to do with patents too, and I think drugs that are made in the for resale, you can't resell spinach because spinach is that. You can't get a patent on that. So I think the variation of a product that has a different chemical in there or a different combination to give an outcome, therefore you own that specific thing. So that's where they could say, let's do this because then we own that patent and therefore we can license that as we wish.
Well, this is a thing that I've noticed. I don't know if Samantha or Sophie has picked this up. As soon as that patent finishes, they stop promoting it, and then there's this new thing that comes out.
So what actually something bothering me is there are so many natural, plant-based. We can just take the plant or the fruit and eat it.
Yes.
But there's no money because you cannot really patent it. You cannot own it. No. So if you just give the name of that, anybody can source it and anybody can eat it. So it's not a business. So what people can do is to then extract something, a chemical, but then it is not even natural because it doesn't, in nature, there are the chemicals, compounds remain in different forms because when we have drugs, medicine, there are racemic mixtures, right? They're isomers, how they behave, the chemical structure. So when you extract something, that you only get part of it, and so it's not even natural. Then they extract and then label it, patent it. That is such unethical way of doing it.
But I suppose remembering, if it comes back to money, what drives money and brings it into some form is the concept and the construct around intellectual property. So, that's like once you own that intellectual property, you can borrow against it. Once there's a cash flow from that intellectual property, being the drug itself. So we know that the kids that are getting the parents that are getting the free Ritalin, someone's paying that ultimately to the pharmaceutical company, even though it's free as the user. But the government is paying still the pharmaceutical company back a cash flow, a rent roll, if you like. When my brother was on chemo for 3 years, every 2 weeks, he was not on any medical benefits, and it didn't cost him anything to do it. And I thought, because he said, well, it's free. And I said, well, it's not really free because someone's still paying for that chemo. Like the company that's developed that and would have the patent for that has the tick boxes with the government to get reimbursed for that. The money flows are still there.
Yeah. And that's another thing I just you were saying about ADHD before, and so if you actually look at that child as a behavioral change or something that child needs some help to get developmental need and teach some skills. But if you give a medical diagnosis saying ADHD, so it's not, the general public doesn't see it that way. They see it as a medical condition, so we need a drug. So even the moms and dads, now they're so happy, it's like an excuse. My child has got ADHD. It's like a boasting nowadays. It's with a pride they say. My child is ADHD.
Hey, I have a badge now.
Yeah, and so
or give me some sympathy because I have, like, oh, poor me.
Right. But that is this cultural change with this medical diagnosis is really, really damaging to people. You know, that they sort of then depend on, even the parents think, okay, we cannot help this child, right? So he needs a drug. You know, that is the understanding, even in the medical world. I mean, I don't want to blame somebody, some particular drug. So it's not even doctors, because doctors are being given that understanding.
Well, they're getting given wrong information to begin with nowadays, with all this stuff that's coming out with all the false information. I actually have some here. And it's kind of, okay, well, GlaxoSmithKline in 2012 got fined $3 billion to resolve civil and liabilities regarding promotion of drugs, as well as its failure to report safety data.
Did they actually pay it?
Well,
see, sometimes they get fined, but they don't actually pay it.
That's what I always wondered.
Where did the money go?
And who gets this $3 billion? Because if it's a worldwide organisation and we've got this big capitalist thing, when they do get fined, who gets that money?
No, but I actually heard that recently. I heard that there is, I think in the car industry, that that there is emission detection is the problem. Something like that when happens, right? When the company is sued, when there is a legal claim to be paid. Sometimes what happens is the government step in, and the government says that, okay, you give this fine to the government earns that money, so they don't actually have to pay compensation for the user, the customer, or any damage. The government gets that fine and everything is sorted. So things like that can happen.
But it's crazy. Okay, Pfizer in 2009 got fined $2.3 billion. Merck got fined $950 million in 2011. Sanofi, Aventis, 2012, 109. Johnson & Johnson, $2.2 billion.
I bet you they have insurances written behind a lot of that.
Okay, Eli Lilly, $1.43 billion.
And then when you follow the money up the ladder, they're all the same person anyway, so they're kind of just
they write a check to each other.
That's it.
Abbott, okay, another company, Abbott, $1.5 billion. Brohringer was $95 million, so they weren't too bad. Only $95 million. Amgen, $762 million. Endo, $192 million. And this is just in the past.
So do you think that this money goes to the government? And who gets the money?
No, well, that's the question, because there's so many different countries. Which country gets it? Because they're sold in every country.
That's a very good question that should be asked. I mean,
does it go in compensation in any way to those that they've harmed?
Well, who knows? They might just have, okay, we'll put that fine to compensating people, and it just sits in their bank account until claimed. And since no one knows how to claim anything, well, it's not a liability for them.
Right.
Because and obviously,
I think where they put it in that account, whatever the account they call it, they can invest that money while the money is there.
They'll invest in pharmaceutical companies.
Well, the thing was, GlaxoSmithKline supposedly would put $100 million a year into their research about drugs. So $100 million. So I guess in 10 years, $100 million. It's at least $1 billion somewhere there. They're put into research about knowing that their drugs are safe and all this, and making better drugs that are safe. But then I guess in their profits, they're probably making $1 billion a year, so that's just a bit of a drop in the water of the stuff that they're putting.
When you say safe, though, I mean, they've all got side effects.
And that's the question.
It's probably the only safe drug is a laxative. At least it gets some shit out of there, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's true, but the thing is,
maybe an antacid.
I think the funniest thing is America, when you watch their medical ads, and you will see it and everyone's smiling, they're so happy, and goes, the morning after pill. Yeah, it's fantastic. Come and get it. You can be a free woman. You can have so many choices just for yourself. You can make these and it's like this kind of nice thing. Everyone's smiling, happy for a girl will walk up to the counter and go, put some money down to get her morning after pill. But the funny thing is not only that, because it's kind of funny, but it's after that it goes, and the morning after pill side effects includes depression, maybe suicide, death,
Continuous bleeding.
continuous bleeding, loss of child. So it's kind of like
Combination of a lot. How about, hey honey, here's a condom.
Yeah, I know.
And no side effects.
I know.
He's pissed off, but there's no side effects to
It's
you
fantastic.
or him.
A relationship,
Maybe.
relationship breakup.
Oh well, you know.
I find it funny though in Australia how we don't do anything about side effects. We don't talk about this. It's not known. It's kind of like the only one of the things. And I love this analogy that a guy told me. If you have a car that's broken and the computer in there or like the brake system has a faulty little connector to the brakes, and you know that faulty connector it's inherent in every car that came off the line. So it's in every car. They recall them. They recall the whole line. That whole line comes back. They fix it before they get it back. And if they don't, massive trouble, massive fines for them. It's not safe. But why, I guess, for the medical industry, when they have these problems with their drugs, it's causing people to commit suicide. Toxic neurotic drugs. Well, they don't recall them. They still sell them, and they just say, okay,
it's
well,
like, that's
we're
a
fixing that
side
up.
effect.
We're fixing it up. It is a side effect that we've known about. You okayed this, so I guess it's fine for us to sell, but we'll try and fix it for you. But I guess it's inherent in us because we're taking this, I guess, BS from these guys where we're like, that's fine thing to happen. What do you guys take on this?
Well, can I just point where you're going in a particular direction?
Yeah, for sure.
In America, it's the FDA, isn't it? Food and Drug Administration. And what's Australia's version of that?
TGA.
The TGA. Now, I don't know much about the TGA. I can only speak what I've read about the FDA. And this is probably a bit of hearsay, but even the board of the FDA have representatives from the pharmaceutical or the food companies themselves that are actually administering the bad foods that are almost in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies. The example is the sugar industry. You know, that the sugar industry have such a market that they want to have people consume their sugar, so they put in so many products. But yet on the flip side of that, with the obesity crisis going on, the pharmaceutical company gets guaranteed all these new clients. Sugar to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but is a bit like cocaine. Like we're discovering this in the
More addictive.
In the current moment, that we worried about Coca-Cola being derivative from cocaine back when you were talking about. I'd say that's probably linked to that time when Coca-Cola did have cocaine.
It was probably a health. To
product.
tell the truth, it came out as a health tonic, didn't it?
That was the marketing spin.
that was the marketing spin. Yeah.
They still do. You can feel good drinking
But
Coke.
their recipe is still a secret, isn't it? Nobody knows what's in it.
That's right.
Isn't it sugared embalming fluid?
What food?
Sugared embalming fluid.
I'm not
Isn't
sure.
that what it is?
But all
I'm
those new energy drinks, they are equally an add-on to an adjunct to this.
It is certainly a preservative, so it could be.
It
could well be.
That's the thing. Yeah.
So on the board, though, of some of these companies that are reliant from the sugar industry, like the Mars representatives from the chocolate company, are on the FDA.
So like Nestle would be
Yeah,
on the
well,
FDA.
that's the thing.
Nestle.
And if you listen to Nestle and what comes out of that CEO's
Don't
mouth,
trust them.
oh my God, he said, okay, I don't know if you're aware of this, but everyone probably is, and if you're not, you should be. The head CEO of Nestle said that water is not a human right. Oh. And when this guy's running this company, if someone says that,
don't you want to back over?
It's kind of like, how do you have the mindset to think that way? Like, you don't get that way. Like, he somehow is in a privileged cocoon of whatever to think that.
And follow the money, comes back to that intellectual property. They'll have a brand that bottles water, and again, you can remember where that water really has come from. And it's then the brand is the intellectual property. It's no different to the patent in the drug. So the bottle and the brand You know, you look at Nestle with bottled water, they'll have probably 10 different brands of bottled water, you know, to expand their market share across those different, yeah, but selling bottled water.
Yeah.
But it's not in the water that they could get the patent on, it's in the branding,
brand,
you know.
yeah.
What's this one here?
Yeah.
This one, Coles Water, it's probably trademarked.
Probably. Yeah. We'll turn that around, so just in case. We'll turn it around. But I guess their sort of theology of it is, well, if you've bought it, well, then that's your problem. You've accepted this in the purchase of any of these, which are drugs or anything. So it's kind of like they negate their liability by you purchasing
Which means the consumer needs to take self-responsibility, which comes back to education.
Don't buy their rubbish.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
learn.